Wait for it. Wait for it. And we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a stabby chaos coordinator, and one chief shenanigator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce ourselves, whatever. We're going to introduce people. We're going to start with you, Aaron, over there at Big Water Outdoors.
Hey guys, I'm Big Water Outdoors, and if you want to watch me go around sunny San Diego catching spotted bay bass and halibut, hop over to my channel.
There you go. Do you keep everything you catch, or do you throw some of it back?
I throw about 90% of it back because there's a size limit, and I rarely catch the thing at the size limit. So most of it goes back, but every once in a while I'll keep something. And I'm trying to do a couple catch and cook videos, so you'll see what I turn it into, but
That would be
figure out how to film that.
That would be
correctly.
nice. Mm-hmm.
I do have one filmed. I just have to get around to editing it, but I've got a whole backlog of content I have to edit.
That'll do it. All right, next we got Miss Jenna S. Brown, who sometimes cosplays as Jenna Ray.
Hi guys, I am Jenna S. Brown. I cosplay as Jenna. I am having. Woo, okay, there we go. I have two monitors these days, and a cat who desperately wants to get in here. Haha, the door shut. And sometimes my screen gets thrown up onto the other monitor and I can't find myself anymore. That's really confusing when I can't find myself. Anyway, I am Janet Hesperod. I am the chief shenanigator around here. I try to keep folks in line. It generally doesn't work, but it's funny while we're doing it. I write science fiction, fantasy, urban fantasy, and other such things, the weird and the wonderful, sometimes with smoochies under the pen name Jenna Ray. I write other things under other pen names, but we won't get into that. Keep moving on.
All right, next we have the war mistress herself of War Hamster and War Master fame, Miss Melissa McShane.
Hi, I'm Melissa McShane. I write many, many fantasy books of many different kinds of fantasy, including the lit RPG series War Master, and I am glad to be here today.
Oh, freaking standing. All right, so with that out of the way, we do have the religion question. So because we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, we are no longer knuckle-dragging troglodytes. We ask you, sir and ma'am, coffee or tea, and how do you take it when you're watching movies? Aaron.
I was drinking a Liquid Death Rest in Peace, which is a tea, agave, and peach flavored drink.
Interesting. Was it good?
It's really good. I think it would classify as sweet tea. It uses artificial sweeteners and the spoon won't float, but it's not unsweetened tea.
We'll allow it then. Unsweetened tea is verboten. All right, Jenna, what are you watching when you watch this? Or what are you watching? What are you reading when you...
What am I reading?
What are you drinking when you're watching this movie?
This does not look good for tonight.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one. I have been 3 steps off normal all ding dong day, and it makes me really happy that I'm not the only one. I am drinking Diet Dr. Pepper with coconut and lime, and right now I'm drinking it fully caffeinated because it has been that kind of day, and I need it to make my headache medicine work. So, ta-da! I will be very jittery.
All right, Melissa, because you're coming all the way from India land, were you drinking a chai?
I was not. I was drinking Coca-Cola with sugar instead of artificial, high fructose corn syrup. And they make it the best way here. So it comes in very small bottles or very large bottles. I'm afraid I had a very large bottle of Coke while I was watching this movie.
We won't judge. So do you like chai? I know that's an option where you're at. And is it big in India?
No, actually, they drink a sweet milky tea at tea time. And you don't... they don't make the tea and then give it to you and you add your own sweeteners. It's all pre-mixed, and it comes out of a little urn, and you have your tea and you have a snack at 4:00, and everybody does it, and it's not chai. It's just, milky tea.
So how close would that be? Are you familiar with Cuban coffee, the way they do theirs? Is it similar to
I
that?
don't know that. I don't know about Cuban coffee. No, sorry.
Okay.
It's just it looks like hot chocolate in a cup, because they serve it in a little glass, and so it looks like the color and consistency of hot chocolate is how the tea looks, but it's
That
tea.
sounds interesting. What kind of tea is the base? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't drink tea, so I've never really, partaken. But they really seem to like it. I know that they have lots of different kinds of tea that you can get elsewhere, but for tea time, it's most convenient to just mix it up and serve it one way. It goes faster, because at our old office building, the tea stand at 4:00 was always incredibly busy, and they were just serving over and over and over again, just throwing the tea out there, and there's no time to do anything fancy. But we've been to tea plantations and seen they do have white, black and green tea that's all very popular.
Nice.
So, aside from tea time at the office.
So normally I'm, I drink coffee when I'm writing or when I'm waking up, Coke throughout the day, because it really does help cut this gunk in your throat with the pollen being so bad. But for when I watched Tron, I actually had apple spiced hot tea that I got. I don't know. I just was cleaning out the kitchen, going through stuff, and you realize like this, syrup flavor or whatever was like expired 4 years ago. Let me throw it out of my refrigerator. And I found the tea, which of course was still fresh. So I'm like, oh, let me try this. It's always one of those things when you clean, you always find things you're like, oh, I didn't know this was here.
Yeah.
So, all right. And because we want to dive right into the movie, Jana has assured me that we are not allowed to go longer than the movie this time.
Nope.
So we have a hard 96-minute out. But we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly show for the woman, and then we're going to dive right into this movie.
Okay.
When a young officer no longer wants to be an instrument of destruction. Sacrifices are a necessary part of leadership. Get used to having blood on your hands. And whose job is to help a warlord annihilate humankind. I will unleash this bioweapon on the galaxy. But first, I need to control her. He plays a dangerous game to escape to the warlord's greatest rival.
Hundreds of people loved her. They gave their lives for her, and she will never know.
Discover a galaxy with epic space battles, tangled loyalties, and the pursuit of freedom, sacrifice, and redemption. The Handler's Gambit by Ingrid Moon. Available wherever books are sold. And check for the audiobook coming soon.
Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. Man, that commercial is out of date because now book 3 is out and audiobooks are for all of them. But it's such a brief commercial, so I just left it. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's tell you what we're here for today, dear listener. If you couldn't figure it out by the title card, we're here to do a retro movie review of the movie Tron. It was rated PG, directed by Steven Lisberger, with a budget of $17 million and a box office success of $50 million. Sounds good to me, but I'm told those numbers don't make it a success because they got to advertise and such. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is 1982 money, so maybe that's like $1 trillion now. It has a runtime of 96 minutes. It was released on July 9th, 1982, and distributed by Buena Vista Distribution. And I am told, Aaron, that we are not allowed to tell the ladies what we were doing in 1982.
You shut up.
Well, in 1982, I wasn't around, so
That's what I was.
That's right.
All right. So there were several ad copies that were used in taglines, which seems to be pretty common in the 80s. It was more of tagline than straight ad copy. But the main one that was and most iconic for this movie, a world inside the computer where man has never been, Never Before Now, which is kind of repetitive, but I mean, it gets the point across. And then we've got Trapped Inside an Electronic Arena Where Love and Escape Do Not Compute. Ooh, I like that one. Thoughts so far? Because we're going to go the other ones. From overseas, they advertised it differently.
Oh, nice.
But did you guys like either of those two?
They're corny, but they're fine.
I mean, it was the 80s. Corny was just the
it's pretty typical of the 80s, I think. So I'm not
like
gonna
my childhood.
I'm not gonna hold it against them, but it is cheesy. Yeah.
So then we have other notable taglines. We have Journey now into a startling new dimension where energy lives and breathes. This one was more popular on the print media side of things.
Okay. I like that one.
That's nice.
On the other side of the screen, it all looks so easy. This was also tagged for being on the other side of the screen. And then this came from the UK theatrical version. Trapped in a fight to the finish inside the video world he created, which is on the nose, but I like that one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then on some radio promotion spots, they called it the electronic gladiator. That's how they described the movie.
Okay.
That one fits pretty good.
That's a good one.
So it was about half and half. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. Definitely very 80s cheese.
Yes.
So everybody good with those?
Sure.
Yep. Yes, we're proud of our 80s cheese.
All right. So before we do the trailer, I'm going to show you the posters and see what you guys think and if they'd make you want to watch this movie.
Okay.
So this is the main trailer. This is before they even had a launch date. You notice coming soon at the bottom.
Well, that says home video. That's like the
home video one.
VHS release.
Yeah. Okay, you're right.
Without Jeff Bridges anywhere to be seen. Unless that's Jeff Bridges at the bottom. It looks like their friend instead.
No, I think
it might be him, but I can't tell.
I don't know. It kind of looks like the guy that played Ram.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll just pretend he's the guy over here on the bottom left that we can't see any face.
Yeah, right. That must be him.
I do like the solar sail concept they used.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That's one of my favorite aspects of the
it's
video.
A sci-fi concept that doesn't get as much play anymore, but it was, Heinlein wrote about some of the solar sail stuff, which I just think is super cool. So, all right, then this is the one that was on the walls of poster or movie theaters. Which, I mean,
I had this one.
Yeah, it's cool, but I don't think it gave as much of an idea about the movie as the other one. So I don't know, like, how on the nose you want to be with your poster.
Yeah, it was mostly because it was just very, very cool. So I owned a teeny tiny one that was in a school locker, but it also has very much a lot of the vibe of Star Wars. If you put those posters side by side, they both have, the light coming down, the boy, the set, and the other. So it kind of had that same vibe for me. And I had both of those posters.
Yeah, I can see it. So overall thoughts on the trailer? Thoughts on the posters? Aaron, you've been quiet.
They were decent. I think the first one you showed us for the coming soon to home video, that would have made me go watch the movie more than the second one. Only because the second one doesn't really tell me what the movie's about.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, especially in 1982, this would have been a really hard movie to explain to people. I think they were doing their best with what they had, but either you showed what they showed, or you had to show everything to explain, okay, that's what this movie is. And I think if they had done that, it would have been ineffective. I think it would have been too much. So I don't know. I didn't see it in theaters, so I don't remember being drawn by the movie posters. So I don't know if I would have wanted to see it, but I was still pretty young in 82, so maybe not. But like I say, they did what they could with what they had. So I kind of like it for that. I mean, they're really pretty. The visuals are really nice, and So that was pretty good.
Okay. Jana, any thoughts before we watch the trailer?
There, Glowy. Let's roll the trailer.
All right. Well, actually, it did not upload. Okay. That is not good. It's okay. I broke it.
No.
So while we're doing that, so what did you guys think? This isn't on the review template we would normally use, but what did you think of that blast from the past with the hairstyles and the vibe that you got of the 1980s? What do you call it? Arcade.
Oh, that was so great.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yes, it was. It felt right. Although
I
that was a much more
wish I-
upscale arcade than anything we had. Honestly, I mean that was. I don't remember ever going to an arcade that was that cool.
This is supposed to be LA, so you just assume maybe LA is.
Yeah, it's an updated arcade because
Mhm.
and that's the thing is that it is so much an 80s vibe, and you know, people say, well, that means it doesn't age well, but you just have to go back to saying, but this was what it was. Just like some of the others we watched that are retro movie reviews this way, is that it's capturing that moment in time and what they thought would be and the reflection of what society was at that point. So yeah, the big hair and the everything else was just like, yep, this is totally what I grew up in. It was great.
Yeah.
And arcades over, because we were still just barely kind of getting into, Tron was inspired in part by Pong, and we were just barely getting into having video games at home, and the arcade still had so much more variety than what you could get on the very, very first Ataris, the very first Pong, all of that kind of thing. And so it was really, really cool because it was bigger and it was better and it was brighter, and so it's fun to see that. And now the stuff that my kids play on my television with their systems is so much more than I could find it in an arcade anymore.
And mostly they don't really have arcades outside of something like a Dave and Buster's, which is more of a nostalgia play for the adults.
Honestly, the games there aren't that great. Like, I wish I was old enough where they stuck around to have like an arcade, like was shown there, because I didn't have that growing up. Like, I had putt-putt, but the arcade games weren't that great there.
Yeah.
And as for like it not holding up because it's the 80s, like Stranger Things has shown, the 80s are cool now. It's like, yeah, it's not as updated, but we still love the 80s.
And they didn't have as many extremes of fashion in Tron that you really could get in the 80s. And I think that one of the reasons it still looks pretty good, even as an 80s movie, is that they don't have those extremes. So it's just little, you know, like what's her name? The girl character.
Laura?
Laura?
Yeah, I kept thinking Cindy Morgan, that's the actress name. But, you know, her hairstyle is not big and boofy because it's 82 and we hadn't reached that extreme of fashion. And so the you know, the whole look of it is a little more generic than the 80s fashion that we'd get a couple years later. And I think that helps it because it doesn't quite look as I mean, if you're going to go with dated fashion, it doesn't quite have that. And so I think it does really well with the design, and just by accident, just because of the time that they managed to film it.
And also, given the set piece, right? So it's a bunch of corporate types. So it's mostly suits. So and the suits are dated, but I mean, vintage suits are coming back. So it doesn't feel as
fashion loops that way.
Yeah, right. The narrower ties you notice, and Laura's hair, like it makes sense that she would have subdued hair, even if you know you take out that it wasn't popular yet, only because she works in a lab where at
points she had that the hood that she was wearing all that time.
And so if someone who works in that environment, you're not going to do anything as big and goofy, even then. Because you don't want to get caught on whatever you know you're doing that's requiring you to wear all that protective equipment.
Yeah,
I think the only thing fashion-wise that stands out a lot that doesn't come back into fashion is the glasses.
Oh, that's true.
80s glasses haven't come back really, at least that I've seen.
I think you're probably right. I mean, certainly the glasses that Bruce Boxleitner was wearing were We're very 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, now that we've finished our nostalgia dive, just 'cause I thought it was worth noting that I was definitely like, oh, I remember this. This is my childhood. With that out of the way, let's watch the trailer.
The computer, an extension of the human intellect. The NCOM 511, center of the most calculating intelligence on Earth. Programmed by Master Control to survive by all means. Soon, the ultimate tool will become the ultimate enemy.
I still do not understand why you want to break into the system.
Because, man, somewhere in one of these memories is the evidence. Hey, it's the big Master Control program everybody's been talking about.
Kevin Flynn, computer genius. Taken prisoner and held captive within the digital world of the computer itself. Trapped inside an electronic arena where love and escape do not compute.
So would that make you want to watch the movie?
Not that first part. Oh my gosh, that was boring. The part where it's the dark, zooming in on the computer logo and talking about the digital world and the computer and oh my gosh,
They could have clipped that first 90 seconds.
They could have just taken that out, and then I would have been fine because I wanted a light cycle.
Oh, gosh, yes.
I would have been okay with that.
Do you think some of that is because the audience now knows about computers, where back then they had to sort of set the stage?
I know that's why they did it, but they did it poorly because that was just way too long for a setup. They needed to just cut to the chase, honestly, and make it quick, make it, okay, it's a computer, it's under all this control, and we're going to break in and then we're going to be inside. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I see why they did it, but I don't think they did it well because I would have been bored.
Okay.
It was kind of info dumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have cut that part and bottom lined up front, the beginning part, and just start with the Flynns.
Yeah, the one thing it showed is that race with the light cycle thing. Like, I couldn't figure out what the point, other than to make the other guy crash. Like, the point of it was just to use the lines your vehicle makes to like trap him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and crash.
Yeah, basically Snake.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with the motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which makes it infinitely more cool. But yeah, it was to make them crash. When you cut them off, if you run into their line, then you also crash. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and a lot of them are fatal in the game.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's move on then, and we will talk about the characters. So, what did you guys think of the characters in this movie?
Well, I I liked pretty much all of them. I mean, David Warner makes a great villain, and sort of a corporate type, and you get the rebels, and I liked that for the ones that had an in-game equivalent. So, like Tron and Alan and Laura and whatever the girls' cyber equivalent was.
Yori,
They were all
Yori.
Yori. That was it. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with her name, because I remember her vividly. But I liked that they were very similar. I mean, especially Alan and Tron, very noble paladin. We're going to break free, but I look like I'm going to obey the rules, but I'm really this rebel. I liked that their equivalents were all enough similar that you were like, okay, I could see how these are related. I could see how this guy would have created this program and they would be the same. So I liked that about the characters. I thought they were all interesting. Laura's kind of a romantic filler. She doesn't really do a lot, but you can see how she would have. I mean, she's set up as a really smart person who is engaged in the work, and so that's I don't know. I guess I liked all of them. I even liked the side characters, not the actuarial program, because that was the one at the beginning that's saying I'm an accounting program and being prodded along, and he's like, I don't know why I'm here, and that was pretty fun.
Okay. Jana?
I'm rereading some because I am really, really bad at actor's name to character's name. It's just a thing. I get character blind that way. But no, I like it. I think it's interesting. The reason that they're going in hangs with it well enough, especially because the characters are really passionate about it. We have to get in here and we have to find out where the memory is and who created this, that, and the other. And so even if, again, we've talked about this on other ones with movies where we're trying to make sure that the character motivation works. And sometimes even if the motivation is a little bit thin, if they are excited enough about it, then I'm willing to go on the adventure with them. And I think they got me on that. I was willing to go on this adventure with them. And I was looking it up, and this is a time that there's a whole bunch of movies that come out right in this kind of section that are a lot of the video game movies, because we were still figuring out what this meant to us at that point. So there was War Games where you were dealing with the computer and the games. There was Cloak and Dagger where the game came out to them. There was we've done The Last Starfighter. And there was Wizard, there was Joystick, there was a bunch of these other things that were all coming out. And Tron is kind of one of those set pieces that defines some of the other things that's going on. And I think the characters are a big part of that. And I like the way that they work together. I like that they were clever and they had clever ideas and ways to do things. And I want a light cycle, and every Frisbee in the universe became a flying Tron disc at this point at school, and bicycles that were now light cycles, and the number of times that we biffed it because we were trying to do the really fancy, fast as you could and then turn. And that works a lot better on a light cycle than it does on a Schwinn.
Does not. Yeah.
What's also interesting to note about the movie coming out at the same time as Last Starfighter and War Games is the movie was originally supposed to come out later in the year, and they bumped it up to try and compete during the summer rush.
Yeah.
Okay. This wasn't like a computer game, but we mentioned in the side chat. Sorry, it was Tulin Rolades. We mentioned in the side chat but the Dungeons and Dragons animated cartoon came out in the next year in September of '83. Yeah. So in that same vein about what we would call isekai now, right? But like the
great isekai show
about the intersection of reality and gaming.
That one, my daughter and I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of the Dungeons and Dragons animated show, so she could see what it was that I had watched, and surprisingly, that holds up. I mean, it's It's not great, but it's not as terrible as it really should have been.
Yep.
So it's and I think for movies, I think a purist could look at everything that was coming out around 1982, 1983, all these movies we've mentioned, and say, well, they probably could have been better. Well, I'm not sure that's true, but they're certainly not as terrible as they might have been, given that video games were really they were thinking children, and in the 80s, movies and shows that were aimed at children frequently did not land. I mean, they were patronizing. They were kind of talking down to the audience. And so I think that Tron is really successful because it took itself seriously and didn't say, well, only kids are going to be watching this, so we can do stupid things. They made really good choices with the characters and with the plot and with the design, and I'm kind of impressed by that.
Well, and this also is a callback to Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
And it talks about that. I was reading some of the background stuff, and it talks about some of the design went back to the Cylons and trying to decide what the various programs were going to look like and the enemies. And they pulled some inspiration from that and that whole idea of what it means to be people versus the programs or people versus the computers. So it's got some really great background. And the other inspiration was Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
And so that, goes right across there, where Alice in Wonderland is one of the earlier Portal fantasies that we get of what's beyond the rabbit hole or the looking glass.
Okay, I wouldn't have considered Alice in Wonderland, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it's listed on there. When you read some of the websites, it's listed as one of the inspirations for the story.
I was curious when I looked into it whether Incom was based on something, because like the IBM or the Apple, but it said it was just a conglomerate of the idea, because you had the old founder and the garage startup, because there's that one scene specifically says, like, I wish we were still in our garage, because he doesn't like the new management.
Yeah.
Basically, the new executive senior vice president that's running the master control program is basically like, you can be replaced.
Yeah.
The guy that created the project. So, I like the tie-in, and we'll see if we can cover this without getting too preachy. But one of the things that was happening in the 80s was the Satanic Panic, where they were, heavy metal music. They were going after RPG gaming, like mostly Dungeons and Dragons at the time. Did it hit the video games too?
Not really. I mean, not to the same extent, because video games were more out in the open, and they were more accessible than Dungeons and Dragons, which was pretty much played, in smaller areas with smaller groups, and people didn't really know what was going on. But a video game was out in the open; you could see it. So there might have been a bit of a moral panic in terms of what are we letting our children waste their lives on, but not so much the Satanic Panic, as I recall.
Yeah, and you have to think some of the earliest video games that became very popular very fast were so very, very innocent. It was Pac-Man, it was Donkey Kong, it was Pong, which is basically table tennis. It was, things like that. And so it didn't have that same level of, well, you're telling some deep, dark story and you're practicing magic and all that kind of stuff. It's you're moving a joystick around. And again, maybe that's not the best use of your time or the best use of your quarters, but it wasn't that same level of, a lot of the games that adults played. They wanted to play, at the arcades and that kind of thing. It wasn't only for children, and it wasn't only for teenagers, for that matter. It was very much a family-friendly. Our first Atari, my parents came down and sat there and watched us play, and sometimes they'd take their turn, and so it was a lot more kind of family friendly at that point.
Yeah, I remember it being something where my whole family could go to the arcade, and even my parents were playing. My mom was a huge Centipede fan. It was her favorite game. So
for me, it was Space Invaders, although that was old when I was a kid, but I just
liked it. Pretty old. Yeah.
And Asteroids. And so, and again, none of these have that. Most of them don't have that huge storytelling aspect to them either. what's the story of asteroids? Well, you're going to spin around in circles and try to blow up the asteroids, and then it'll come faster and faster and faster until they blow up your little ship. There's not
Fun fact with that,
there's not a
before we
lot
get-
of levels to that.
Yeah.
Fun fact with that one, I watched an interview of the guy that created it. It started with the levels getting quicker, started with Pong, and it was an accidental programming glitch that they couldn't figure out. And then people thought it was on purpose, so they just went with it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we totally meant to do that.
Yeah.
We're helping with your Twitch factor.
Right. So one of the things I did like in the movie that Dr. Laura, because she was a doctor, they made a point of that. She had a science degree, and then it was Dr. Who was this VP of the Dr. Walter Gibbs, the co-founder of Incom. They invented that space, the laser that looked a lot like the one from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that came out in the 70s, which I don't know. That's the first thing I grokked onto when I watched that laser scene. I'm like, oh, that's like the one. So
Nice.
I thought that was kind of cool because they had the scene where they were trying to move the food from one corner to another, and it had that same vibe to it. But these are 10 years apart, the movies, because Willy Wonka came out in like 71.
Yeah, 70.
Yeah.
70 somewhat.
So, what about the secondary characters? Did you guys have any favorites?
Well, I don't know. It's funny because for such a big scale movie, there's not a lot of characters. You know, this is a very tightly told story. And so even as they're secondary, like the one that I was mentioning, the accounting program, I think that was Peter Jurasik, and he was in Babylon 5 with Bruce Boxleitner many years later. And I don't think they ever met on the set. I don't think they have any scenes together. But he just, he's just this schlub who got drafted, and I think I like him because they use him to set up what's going on within the system, and it doesn't have to be this big deal. It's just, this is clearly wrong because he's being forced to do something he is not meant to do, and he's going to do it and die. So, so I liked his being part of the story because I thought that was really good. Maybe not so much the character as the plot element, but he was the one. And he's just on for like a second. He's not even there very much. But I liked him. I liked Ram. I liked I liked their old friend, whose name I never remember. I don't know why.
Aaron, any thoughts?
Yeah, like with what Melissa said, the actuary program I thought was cool. Is like he just wants to help people with their taxes and make their business successful, and he's having to go play light cycles.
Yeah.
Which, if I was given the choice, I think I'd rather play light cycles and help people with math problems. But I was never good at math.
Get him killed.
Yeah, and he's great. I like him.
I like the Dr. Walter Gibbs, which is the co-founder. He has this famous line where they're talking about the computers, or maybe it was Flynn that said it, but it was one of the lines in there I wrote down. It says, once the machines start thinking, people will stop. I'm like, that was so prophetic. Considering where we are now. And I paused it to write that down. I should have written down who said it and what the scene was, but I didn't think to do that. But yeah, it might have been Flynn when they were in the apartment, but I think it was the doctor. The other thing I noticed with the games they were playing, like it seemed like every 80s movie had that highlight game in there, which is the one where it's got that stick on the hand that's like a wicker stick, but it looks almost like a claw extension of your hand. I don't know where the game came from, but like every 80s movie you see that was just like the thing to throw. I think because it just looks so different than what we're used to. It just feels odd because it's not quite lacrosse.
Was it a popular toy at the time, and that's why they put it into the game?
It was a toy at the time. Man, I hadn't thought about that in years.
How popular? I don't know.
I don't remember it being very popular, but I remember that you could get it. And
we played it
because it's. Highlight is pretty dangerous, so I don't know that
it was the world's fastest sport, reached its peak in popularity in the U.S. during the 70s and 80s, primarily on the East Coast, surprisingly. Trying to think. The speeds the ball could reach speeds of 150 to 180 miles per hour. Wow.
Yeah. Like I said,
Um,
it's dangerous. I'm not sure many people wanted their little kids playing with toys that, I mean, could do that. So
Especially since, helmets and knee pads and all those kinds of
right,
things were kind of
kind
not a thing that we did much of until you
of
got
optional.
into high school or so.
Yeah.
You
it's
just learned
listed
how to
as a
take a ball.
it's listed as a basque sport, which I think is I don't know what that means. Just on its quick
Spain.
Wikipedia page, but it came out of, it looked like Central and South America.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
So anyway, I just noticed that, and I'm like, oh, another '80s movie with the highlight game, and it sounds like highlight with an H, but it's spelled with a J.
Yes.
Which makes sense given if it's a Spanish game.
Right.
But yeah, I noticed that had that highlight game. What did you guys think of the technology? So in the game itself, they had like the weird U-shaped, but they were blocky enforcer tanks, and then the ground tanks and the motorbikes. What did you guys think of those?
I thought the tanks looked pretty cool.
I like the tanks, not so much the little U-shaped ones.
Yeah, the recognizers were kind of weird. I never really liked those ones. And then that their attack was they just like step on you.
Yeah.
That's supposed to get you. Like that was kind of weird to come from an aerial vehicle. Like you think it'd shoot back if the tanks can shoot and they're on the ground. An aerial vehicle will be shooting at you.
Yeah. I think that was a limitation of the technology for computers and stuff. But I really did like the tank and the way they showed the inside, where it was like sometimes some of them were one-man crew and some of them were two-man crews, and like it paid homage to the history of tanks, which I thought was kind of cool, with the separate loader versus tank commander, and I don't know, I really liked. Although they did very much use them line of sight, because they could have aimed up and arced a few rounds in there, but. Maybe that was a limitation of the computer technology, so that was factored in. I don't know. I wasn't playing video games in '82, so
I felt like that was a function of the dramatic, like well, it's kind of like Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars. We're kind of used to the idea that it goes in a straight line, and so I think if they had lobbed them upward for an arc, it would have looked strange to viewers who were sort of trained to see something else. Because it feels like, I mean, the whole thing really felt like video game style, video game appeal. I mean, especially the big, oh great, now I can't remember the name. We just said it like 2 seconds ago. Recognizer. I was going to say Reckoner, and I know that's wrong. But the recognizers, I mean, the way they look, it looks like a video game, Space Invaders or Asteroids that line, so as dumb an idea as it is, because all they do is stomp on you, and that's a little scary, but you could probably get out from under them. It looks like something that would be in a video game, and I think they got that. I think they got that right the whole way through. That it's it all looks like something you would see from the light cycles to the recognizers to the master control program himself. I mean, it's all different types of video game, but they all look like they could be from the same thing. And I really like that about the design. I think that made it really really immersive for me.
Well, and for the time, they were a little bit ahead of most of the graphics of the games that we were playing.
Right.
So they looked like futuristic video games to us because you didn't have real smooth, like the light cycles end up being here, which, compared to the CGI now, if you compare it to the latest Tron that came out or whatever, they're hokey. But for where we were at, going back to playing the Atari, the little tanks in the Atari were 8-bit blocks, and they go tug, 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 and they've got the one little turret, and then you face off with each other, and it's who presses the button and shoots first. And so this was that next step up of a cool thing of what video games were headed towards. And so I think that technology really worked because, like Melissa says, it looked like what belongs in a video game, but it was more modern than what we were currently playing.
Mhm.
So it was kind of that glimpse into, ooh, this is what our video games are becoming. It's so cool.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the other reason why the tanks looked the way they did, the recognizer, the what was it? Wasn't Scar? What was the other evil program's name?
Oh, the
Ark.
Yeah, Sark. His
Sark.
ship and the light cycles looked the way they did. That was the best they could do because the first 3D rendered video game was Battlezone, and it came out in 1980 on Atari. So the limit of what you can actually make in 3D and render it
Right.
in 82, that was the best they could get.
Mhm.
But we did
Yeah.
like the light sail, so there is that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
That looked
Love
really
the light
cool.
sail.
Hmm.
So, all right. So we covered the characters. We went over the cool vehicles. What did you guys think of the overall plot of this one?
Pretty good. I mean, it's basic, but it doesn't need to be anything more than that. It's guys goes to another world and starts a revolution. So there you go. And I think because it's so it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. It's not got a lot of subplots, and I think that keeps it really on track and makes it feel like this story is realistic in the sense of it could happen anywhere. I mean, it's happening in a fantasy setting, science fiction setting, but fantastical, and it could work. This is basic human desires, and they didn't try to make it about anything futuristic or unfamiliar, really.
I mean, they did capture that very 80s, and the 80s Gen X kids still live with this a lot. That distrust of authority and of big business coming in and taking over creativity and making you just a cog in the machine, which is what they really kind of wanted to do with the programs. It was removing this idea that these programs wanted to be autonomous and wanted to do their own things, and that wasn't allowed. It was, you're going to do this. And that was a thing that a lot of movies and a lot of just culture in the 80s was bucking against the system and against the man and against somebody who would swoop in and say, you can't do this, or I'm going to take credit for your thing. And so that's all really nicely stitched up in this plot without being it's not in your face preachy. It's the, well, of course we're revolutionaries and we're going to do the thing, and we all love a good underdog story. So yeah, people love a revolution, and they had 90 minutes to tell it in. And as much as I love some of the modern movies that are longer, I also think that with a lot of them, there's something to be learned from that compacted viewing time to be able to say, can you tell a tight story in a 60 to 90-minute window? And this does a good job of it.
And it just occurred to me that you have two heroes of different types. You have Tron, who's very I mean, he's not exactly by the book because he is a revolutionary, but he's very straight-laced. He's very dedicated. He's committed to what he's doing. Then you have Flynn, who's kind of wild, kind of a rebel, kind of whatever. And it takes both of them to make the victory happen. And I kind of like that.
And it was trippy to see Jeffrey the Dude Lebowski as a younger man, because Jeff Bridges played that guy too.
Jeff Bridges.
Yep.
Every time he's like giving lip, I'm just like, that's just like your opinion, man. I did like that though. It wasn't like any one character. It was the team of Yori, Tron, Ram, and Crom, and then of course Flynn that made it happen. And there was homage paid to the ones that sacrificed along the way to get them there. Right, because Ram and Crom died in the sorry, spoilers. They died. I mean, it's a 40-year-old.
It's an old movie where,
but like they died in the pursuit of getting them to that final battle. Like it wasn't just a one-man show, and to me that makes things more realistic because the idea of this super person who just do everything never really resonates with me. But seeing someone who, because they had a team, they made that happen, like that worked.
Yeah.
Well, and they developed those characters and those relationships very, very quickly, which is good. And to a degree that when Ram gets derezzed, it's just like, but you can't.
We liked him.
What do you mean he's gone? And he's not coming back. And at one point to think Tron is dead. It's like, oh no, how are they going to do this now? And so it really did hit those emotional things that made you go, I am emotionally connected to this. I'm sad when they die. And I've watched movies where I'm like, yeah, I can tell who's going to be the sacrificial goat and I don't care. And they did a good job with this one to where I care, and knowing that we're going to lose some member of the team. That's kind of the way these formulas work. Someone's going to go, and I'm going to be heartbroken when it happens. And that's kind of a beautiful thing they did.
Yeah.
I like that the plot was very straightforward because it allowed it to focus on the awe of the new technology, well, new for them, and of the world that they created. So for me, the fact that the plot was a little bit more A to B instead of A to B, by going around your backside. What about you, Aaron? What did you think of the plot?
I definitely like that they went with basically a tried and true plot that there wasn't going to be too many issues people would have with it, that they could show off their new, I don't know if you'd call it rendering style for making the movie, because I watched one of the history videos on it, and the way that they get the look is they layer negative over the exposed image and shine a light to get that halo effect. So they were having to do that for every scene, and I think that's the other reason why you guys were saying that the kids movies were talking down to the kids, and this one didn't do it. Is this was three friends that came up with the story and wanted to do it, and they had their own company, and they actually started doing regular animation. They did the Animal Olympics for the 1980 Winter and Summer Olympics, and the 1980 ones aired for the Winter Olympics, but then the United States pulled out of the Summer Olympics because the USSR invaded Afghanistan or Iraq, so we boycotted it. So they didn't air those ones. So they worked more on their story and went to Walt Disney, who had just had a series of failures, and sold it to them. And they're like, cool, I think this will work. And they were able to do it themselves. They had no big corporate guy telling them what story to make. They were allowed to do their own thing and create the story.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is. And early Disney was really good at trusting their creatives to be creative.
Yeah.
I wish it was still the same way.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you guys think of the world building, the way they created? I mean, it's not that hard when you start in the real world to world build because, unless you're changing something, that's pretty easy. So the focus for me, at least, was very much so on the game world. And I thought, I'm coming at it with, perspective where computers are normalized. So I don't know how that would have rode at the time, but I felt like they did a good job on the world building.
I think they did a good job on the world building, and I don't know if this necessarily fits for world building, but it definitely, I think it does. When they went and split up and Flynn goes to where the laser's going to zap them, Lori or Yori or whatever her name is, she's going to go do her thing, and Alan goes to his desk. Did any of you guys catch what was written on his cubicle as he sat down?
No.
I don't remember.
Let me pull up my notes because I saw it. I was like, oh, that's a interesting Easter egg, but it also tells like how much of a nerd like he was. On the cubicle, the quote says, Gort, Klaatu, Barada, Nico. So he had the I thought that was later in
So
That's pretty great.
He was breaking up for me. What was on the thing? Is that from some other nerd property?
It's from the day the Earth stood still, and it's Klaatu Barada Nikto, and it was the words they were supposed to say to stop the destruction. And so I know it because of Evil Dead and
yes, where he can't get it right.
You can't remember what it is. Yeah. No.
Okay.
So that's pretty great. That's good. That's a good catch. I did not.
For
see
me,
that.
it was when you never split the party.
Yeah.
Because it had the team ensemble, so my head goes to gaming. I'm like, no, don't split the party. So I don't know.
Oh, Aaron, we're losing you.
There we go. All right. Let's hope he comes back.
Looks like Incom is trying to censor him.
Yeah, Incom knew. He's been zapped into the game world.
Yeah, he's been pulled into the game world.
So this is why, before we move on to the cinematography, because I think we all agree the world building was simple, so it was good. And I don't mean simple as derogatory, but the highlight was the Basque thing. I didn't know. I did a quick Google. It refers to the county in Spain. So the game started in Spain. It just became popular in Central and South America. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I wouldn't want to get hit by 150-mile-an-hour baseball. That sounds painful. All right. So, Aaron, did you have anything you wanted to add about the world building before we talked about cinematography?
Yeah, at the very end, when Sark was getting yelled at by the computer program, one of the displays behind him was playing Pac-Man.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. Like, even had the sound effects going at the same time.
Yeah.
Between my my head injury and the color blindness, this one was a little bit harder to catch some of those details in the computer world.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was still enjoyable, so that's not a dig. I just I missed some of those details because I had to look away periodically. All right, so what did you guys think of the camera shots, the cinematography?
Good. I mean, it's such a dark world, but it stays bright. I mean, my complaint nowadays is always it's too dark. I can't see the contrast. But this was, and the whole, filming them in black and white and doing the overlay and that was just a really clever idea. It made it seem like another world, and I thought they did a really good job of filming it. I liked it.
Okay.
I always like it when you get something that has this much action, like they do in the light cycle races and that kind of stuff, and it doesn't make me motion sick. And I'm very much able to keep track of what's going on. Because this week we mentioned Transformers in another movie review, and the Michael Bay Transformers has that problem of it gets so confusing in some of the action that it gets hard to tell which character is doing what. And I like with this that all of the shots, I knew where people were, I knew what was going on, even when they're fighting, even when they're racing, even when they're doing those things, I can keep track of all of the different things that are happening, even when there were multiple light cycles on screen, because sometimes we're up to 5 or 6 of them when we have the blue from the bad guys, and then we have the so there's easy 6, and then the tank shows up. And I could still keep track of everything because they shot it in such a way that you weren't getting the shaky cam, you weren't getting the scrambled thing. So it still felt very edge of your seat, but also really, really easy to watch. And I like that.
Okay. What about you, Aaron? You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I thought there was only one part that got confusing for me was when they're on the solar sail and Tron knocks a couple guys off of it, and there's the one guy hanging. Just because I'm not used to Jeff Bridges not having a beard, I didn't realize that was him hanging. Like, I saw that he turned himself red to blend in, but because I'm not used to him not having a beard, I didn't realize that was him that was hanging there. I was like, all right, cool. Like, he's hanging there, and then he comes back. I was like, oh, that's why the guy's still hanging there. I was waiting for Tron to, like, step on his fingers and make him fall and not realize it was Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, yeah, the action, you could follow it and you weren't getting confused.
Any thoughts on that one, Jana?
I just had thoughts.
I'm asking you, if you want to expand before we wrap up.
No, I am good with my expansion.
Okay, I the only part I didn't like was the Tron bike race stuff, only because, like we said, with the lights and the color blindness and all that, that was a little bit more difficult to watch. But I thought it was well done. What about overall thoughts, Aaron? As we bring this puppy to a close.
I like the movie. Not my favorite, but I'd probably rate it 8 out of 10. Like, I've definitely watched it again, but there's other movies that came out the same time as this that cover some of the same stuff that I'd probably rather watch.
Okay. Melissa?
Well, when I was the age that this came out, my grandparents had the Disney Channel, and they would record movies off the Disney Channel and send them to their grandkids. And so that's how I watched Tron for the first time, and then watched it again and again. So I don't really have a way to divorce my current experience from having seen it at that age in that way. But coming back to it, it surprised me that it was that it held together as well as it did. That my memories were not, rosy childhood memories. I think I'm with Aaron on, there's other movies that came out at this time that I think maybe are superior. I think War Games is a superior movie just overall, but this one is so charming in so many ways that I just really enjoy watching it, and I'll probably come back to it again.
Gianna?
Yeah, me too.
Jenna Ray agree.
I could pretty much say the same thing. It was fun to come back to it, especially having seen the more modern ones more recently. And so it was fun to go back to the original source material and kind of see where those had come from and things that I liked better about the original source material. Things where I felt like the charm and the heart was more there than some of the later ones where it's like we may have gotten a little bit caught up in our flashy, much better CGI and lost a little bit of the heart. And so that was kind of an interesting experience. And it had been a long time since I'd last seen this, so I was happy to go back and watch it again. And again, it takes me back to being a kid and riding our bikes around, because everybody had to be a light cycle for several years there, because that was just this cool. You could go faster, and it had zoom to it, and then it wasn't that much longer before Return of the Jedi came out, and then you had the various speeders there, and so your bicycle became everything, and that's a very 80s thing that ties back to these. So it is great nostalgia. Do I want to watch it repeatedly multiple times a week? No, I really don't. Like Aaron says, it's probably a 8-ish out of 10 movie, but I definitely don't mind having gone back.
Okay. I liked it. It'd been a while since I've seen it, so I thought it aged well, all things considering. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't remember ever playing.
Yes, we know, infant.
No. I'm just saying, like, even in the 80s, it was all cowboys and Indians and G.I. Joe, but I grew up on a military town, so that probably factors in.
Yeah.
We did lots of Zorro and Lone Ranger, though. So
That's cool.
That's a good series. We might. Is that spec fic? Could I find a way to justify it? Let me think. So yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. It's not one I'll watch over and over again, but it definitely was worth rewatching. So we will go with that. All right. So Aaron, as we wrap this up. Oh wait, hold on. This is the part where I remind you, dear listener, to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books, movies, comics, etc., etc., etc. So do your part. It really does make a difference. But with that said, Aaron, where can we find you online? And then what are you reading at the moment?
You can find me at Bigwater_Outdoors on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And right now I'm working my way through book 6 of the War Master series.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Jana, where might we stalk you on the wild interwebs? And then what are you writing?
I am very easy to find on the internet. I am the loser of internet hide and go seek. You can find me at linktree, linktr.ee/Opal Kingdom Press, or you can go direct to the press at opalkingdompress.com. And you can find me under these two pen names all over everywhere. If you search them and it has to do with publishing, it's almost certainly me. And if it's not, I'd love to know who it is that you're talking to. But that's generally where you can find me. What am I working on right now? At the very moment, I am working on a short story really quick because I had somebody who reached out and said, we have an opening here that we need a story for. Can you throw something together for us? So I am quickly putting a story together for them. And then it's back to Reboot to get that out of here. And then it's back to the Diana books.
Nice.
So always got a list, a list, big list.
Melissa.
Yes. You can find me at melissamcShaneWrites.com, where you can sign up for my newsletter, which is published monthly and has fun stories about my adventures in India and information about new releases and sales and things. Or you can buy my books, audiobooks, and ebooks at nightharborpress.com. And you buy there directly, you get a good deal, and the books are signed. What I'm working on right now is the 5th book in a new series, new urban fantasy series called The Swap. And this one is going to be my daughter's favorite because it involves pixies, and my daughter loves Tinkerbell and pixies. Yes, she's 30. Yes, she will never grow up.
Yes.
Growing up's overrated.
I think so too.
Pixies are cool. I dig it. Is that the Pretender to the Throne book?
No, that's that one is an older series, family saga of epic proportions. This is urban fantasy about a world where our world collided with a fantasy realm.
Oh,
they
that
got their
one.
pieces mixed up. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've talked about that.
Yeah, the one that we're working on the cover for the first book, and
in her Discord, which is linked in the show notes, if you want to join and weigh in. We get nerdy about all the things. They mock me for not knowing that porridge was more than just oatmeal.
I don't remember mocking you for that.
Yeah,
they didn't laugh at me. They didn't laugh at me. They laughed with me.
Around you and in your general vicinity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, and you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things: the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. For professional purposes only, people say the shenanigans from Stabby over there on Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it's for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee, tea, and hot chocolate until they get high on their own supply. If you want some of that coffee brand coffee, the link is in the show notes. The discount code is podcast grunts. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. You help keep the lights on. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like you to know that there is a sign up. We will eventually put it on all of our social medias. Jana was kind enough to make one of those little scan picture thingies that you put your phone at, and it pulls up websites. You can tell I'm a sci-fi writer. QR code. There we go. I'll blame that on the TBI and not that I'm a tech illiterate. But anyway, if you guys sign up, we are working our way through getting some of those guests on. So never fear if you put your name down. We're going in the order they come in and trying to book. Some of our more recent guests that are coming out or have come out recently came from that list. And you too can sign up to come on. And the link is there. We will share it. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am the discombobulated J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, but we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. With that, I would like to thank you all for coming on, and thank you again, Aaron. You really seem to enjoy these movie episodes, and you suggest hundreds more. So at the rate we're going, we'll make it to episode or season 157, which is what Jenna and I calculated we need to be at in order to get our payout from BitChute, because you got to have $100 minimum. And at the rate we're going in 157 years, we'll be able to pull that $100 out.
Yeah, but if we get more listeners, so if you tell your friends and family, then at some point we may be able to shrink that down so it's not 157 years, but it's maybe 120. I'd go for
And
that.
of course, at that point,
come up with enough movies for us to watch, and we can get it done.
Yeah.
And at that point, like that $100 in cash after the government takes their cut might buy us a Tootsie Roll we have to share.
Yeah.
In 4 ways. All right. With that, we're going to hit the end button. Wait for it. We're just thinking taxes because we recorded this in April, people.
Yeah.
Boom.